The topic that I chose is child abuse and neglect. Child abuse and neglect can be defined as physical abuse or neglect. Physical abuse can be described as physical injury that is deemed non accidental. These injuries can include cuts, bruises, broken bones, and burns, and they can be a result of punching, severe beatings, or hittings with the hands, feet, or other objects. Physical discipline is permitted as long as it's not excessive or severe, which can be causing marks or bruises. Neglect can be defined as the parent or caregivers, they're not meeting the child's basic needs. This can include not providing adequate food, clothing, shelter, or meeting medical needs, educational needs, or emotional needs. Child abuse and neglect also consists of sexual abuse, abandonment, and substance abuse. Abandonment is considered a form of neglect because that is a result of a parent or guardian's whereabouts being unknown. An example of that can be leaving a child at a public location and just leaving the child there and your whereabouts are unknown. Sexual abuse consists of sexual acts done to a child by a parent or caregiver that can include molestation, exploitation, or rape. Substance abuse is also a form of neglect as a parent or caregiver can use substances during pregnancy that can cause the child to have deformities, sicknesses, or ailments at birth. And it also includes selling and distributing drugs as well. The Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act was passed on January 31st, 1974. This act is funded by the federal government and is in different states to prevent child abuse and neglect. Under this act, child abuse investigations are conducted to ensure child safety. This funding goes to agencies and nonprofit organizations. Child Protective Services was designed to protect children from child abuse and neglect. Every state has child protective services, and these agencies receive reports to investigate concerning children, and they are assigned to child protective service workers who can also be social workers. And if abuse is declared, it can lead to child removal, criminal charges, or parental rights being terminated. In the state of Alabama, Child Protective Services is called the Department of Human Resources. This agency is located in every county in the state. DHR's biggest office that covers most of the biggest cities is Jefferson County DHR. What is rural? Rural populations can be described as country areas. They are also non-metropolitan areas and have very few citizens. They often have challenges that are limited or no access to community services, lack of transportation, limited health care centers, and lack of essential resources. Social work practice in rural areas are usually based on the generalist perspective. In rural areas, social workers look at community development, the impact of outside relationships, the influence of culture, and the desired professional qualities that support social work practice in rural areas. Urban areas are composed of the large city metropolitan areas. Social work practice in urban areas identify the influence the city can have on individuals, and social workers must be knowledgeable of the resources within the communities. They must be sympathetic to the different cultures in the population. The theoretical framework that I believe is associated with child abuse and neglect is the family systems theory. This theory focuses on the entire family as a unit. This family systems theory focuses mainly on the family and is described as a process used to identify issues within the dysfunctional family relationship. The ecological perspective theory is another theoretical framework that is associated with child abuse and neglect. This theory promotes that child abuse and neglect is caused by several determining factors. This theory is separated into 4 systems, which include the individual, family, community, and culture. Assuming that child abuse and neglect is a result of these factors, it can be concluded that programs need to address these systems to be effective. Child abuse and neglect in rural areas. In rural communities, the poverty rate is very high. Poverty can result in a lack of resources and can also cause more child abuse and neglect in urban areas. Children who are in poverty are more likely to be abused, and they are also more likely to have health problems. All of these factors can add to family stress and can lead to the abuse and neglect. Where there's poverty, there's a lack of education, finances, and there can be substance abuse. All of these factors cause family stress and can lead to the abuse and neglect. Overall, child abuse and neglect is very prominent in the United States, and I work with Jefferson County Department of Human Resources. I did work as a child abuse investigator, but I'm no longer doing that. I have a position of taking the calls in our intake department to assign the cases to workers. What we do is very challenging, and it makes a difference in the lives of many children just to save them and keep them out of harm's way. I hope this video was informative, and I hope you all learned something from it. Thank you.